How can a woman be both mentally ill and an active lawyer at the same time? When my daughter learned the answer to this question, her face turned ashen. If this story touched your soul, click subscribe and let me know in the comments which city or country you're listening from. I'm grateful to everyone who comments. My name is Elizabeth Margaret Thornton. I am 67 years old and live in Portland, Oregon. I was a family law attorney for 42 years. I won hundreds of cases and touched the lives of thousands of people. But I never imagined my own daughter would take me to court. Her goal? To have me declared mentally incompetent and seize all my assets and my home. There was just one problem. At the same time, I was winning a case in another court. Wednesday morning, the 13th of March 2024, Judge Robert Chen sits at the bench in courtroom 304 on the third floor of the Multnomah County Courthouse. Before him is a petition. Presenting the petition, Sarah Thornton Mitchell, my only daughter. Your Honor, said Sarah's lawyer, Marcus Webb, who looked young and assertive. My client has come before you with a difficult decision. She wants to place her mother, Elizabeth Thornton, under guardianship. The reason is clear. Advanced dementia. Judge Chen looks over his glasses. Do you have any medical reports? Yes, Your Honor. 2 separate evaluation reports from Dr. Philip Morrison. They state that the patient suffers from short-term memory loss, has difficulty recognizing her loved ones, and is unable to perform daily living activities. Sarah is sitting in the courtroom, a handkerchief in her hand. Her eyes look teary, but I know my daughter. That handkerchief is just a prop. At the same time, on the second floor of the same building, in courtroom 217, a completely different scene is unfolding. Judge Linda Morrison, no relation to Dr. Morrison, just a coincidence, is sitting at the bench. Standing before her is a lawyer, an elegant woman in a gray suit with silver hair. Me, Elizabeth Margaret Thornton. Your Honor, I say, my voice clear and firm. My client, Mr. Timothy Richardson, wants a divorce after 23 years of marriage. The reason? Financial abuse and emotional violence. His wife, Mrs. Richardson, gained unauthorized access to my client's retirement funds and transferred $340,000. Judge Morrison listens with interest. I continue, my hands resting on the table, choosing each word carefully. The opposing counsel tries to object, but I skillfully refute each objection, because I've been doing this for 42 years. At 10:47 a.m., a court clerk hands Judge Chen a note in courtroom 304. The judge reads the note, his eyebrows furrowing. Mr. Webb, he says, his voice filled with surprise. Elizabeth Thornton. Is this woman currently in this building? No, Your Honor. As I understand it, my client tried to visit his mother at her home, but she didn't open the door. She's probably inside, confused. No, Judge Chen interrupts. What I mean is, Elizabeth Thornton is currently representing a divorce case in courtroom 217, and according to reports, she's performing quite successfully. A deep silence falls over the courtroom. Sarah's face turns pale. Her lawyer, Marcus Webb, is speechless. This is impossible, Sarah stammers. My mother has dementia. Dr. Morrison's reports. The reports can wait for now, Judge Chen says. We need to investigate this situation. I'm adjourning the hearing. Have you ever felt like you were dead? I did in 2019, at the age of 62. I retired that year, voluntarily. Everyone was surprised because I was still a top lawyer. I had won my last 5 cases. My clients loved me. Juries believed my words. Judges respected me. But I said I was tired. I want to spend time with my grandchildren now, I said. I want to tend to my garden, read books, and go for walks. The truth? I wanted to test something. Test what? How people treat an old woman. You see, over my 42-year career, I noticed something. Everyone respected Elizabeth Thornton in her suit in the courtroom. But when that same Elizabeth Thornton moved too slowly at the supermarket checkout, the young woman behind her would sigh and roll her eyes. When a woman was in her 42nds and the CEO of a company, she was called a strong leader. But when that same woman was in her 62nds and in the same position, she was called old-fashioned and resistant to change. I was watching my daughter Sarah, too. She was 38 at the time, a human resources manager at a technology company. Her husband, Brad, was a real estate agent. They had 2 children, Emma, 12, and Lucas, 9. When she heard I was retiring, her first reaction was, "Finally, Mom, you need to rest now. Those courtrooms were too exhausting for you." It sounded sweet, didn't it? But there was something in her tone, a sense of relief, as if she were saying, "Finally, you'll be a normal old woman." The first 6 months were nice. I was happy looking after my grandchildren. I grew tomatoes in my garden. I took long walks in Portland's Forest Park. I joined a local book club. But then the changes began. Sarah started coming more often. "I'm just here to check on you, Mom," she'd say. But her eyes would wander around my house. She'd check my bills. She'd look in my fridge. "Mom, this milk is expired. You need to be careful." "Sarah, I can still read the dates," I'd say. "Yes, but sometimes you forget, don't you? Last week you told me the same story twice." I hadn't told that story twice. But I noticed Sarah was starting to treat me like I was forgetful. Then Brad stepped in. "Elizabeth," he said one day, he didn't call me Mom anymore. "Sarah and I want to talk to you about something. You're getting older, and this house is too big for you. Maybe you should think about moving somewhere smaller, maybe a nursing home, care facility." I laughed. "Brad, I'm 62, not 92, and this is my home. I moved here 35 years ago." "Yes, but there are stairs. What if you fall? What if you have a heart attack at night?" "Then I'll call 911, I said. "I haven't forgotten how to use my phone yet." I saw an expression on Brad's face. Disappointment. As if I hadn't given him the answer he wanted. That's when I understood. It wasn't just worry. It was something more. In 2021, during the pandemic, things accelerated. Sarah was coming every week now. "Mom, do you know how to wear your mask properly?" "Mom, let me go with you to your vaccination appointment." "Mom, did you pay this bill?" One day she suggested I see a doctor. "Just a routine checkup, Mom, the kind you should have at your age." I went. The doctor's name was Dr. Philip Morrison. Young, maybe in his 42nds, glasses, distant. The examination was strange. He asked more questions than usual. "What day is today? Who is the president? Can you try counting backwards from 7 to 100? "Dr. Morrison," I said, "did I come here for a dementia screening?" "Just a standard cognitive assessment, Mrs. Thornton. But I'm a lawyer. I know how to read between the lines." That doctor was taking notes, and those notes weren't in my favor. My test results came back normal, but the report had this note: "The patient occasionally exhibits mild signs of forgetfulness. Further follow-up is recommended." Mild forgetfulness symptoms? I answered every question correctly during that exam. That's when I decided I would play their game, but by my rules. I quietly called one of my old colleagues, Thomas Bradshaw, a 70-year-old retired lawyer who still does consulting. I explained the situation to him. "Elizabeth," he said, "I think something's going on too, but we need proof. They're trying to corner you, so you need to corner them." "How?" "Wait and watch. Record everything. Keep every document, and never, ever let them know you suspect them." And that's exactly what I did. 2022 was a strange year. My daughter Sarah's visits became more organized. She no longer came randomly. She came every Tuesday afternoon, accompanied by Brad and sometimes a friend. Once she brought a social worker with her. "Mom," she said, "this is Helen. She does home assessments for seniors. She can make some suggestions to make your home safer." Helen walked around my house, taking notes. "Mrs. Thornton, these rugs are dangerous. You could trip and fall, and these kitchen items are too high up. You must be having trouble reaching them." "Helen," I said, smiling, "I'm 5'8", and I do yoga. I can easily reach those shelves. But thank you for your concern." Helen left, but I'm sure her report said something like, "The patient is reluctant to accept her limitations." But I was taking notes on everything: the dates, times, who came, and what they said. I bought a small voice recorder and recorded some of the conversations. In the state of Oregon, Recording with one-party consent is legal. One day, Sarah and Brad came again. This time they were more serious. "Mom," Sarah said, holding my hands, "you're getting old, and we're worried. Maybe you should let us manage your finances, just to help." "Manage my finances?" "Sarah, my finances are in perfect order. I make a budget every month. I pay my bills on time." "But sometimes you forget," Brad interrupted. "Last month you paid your electricity bill late." "Once. I paid it late once because I was on vacation and forgot to set up my automatic payment system. I paid it the next day." "There you go, Mom. You used the word forget," Sarah said. "That's concerning. Do you understand?" Every word I said was being used against me. That night I called Thomas Bradshaw. "Tom," I said, "I think they're preparing to file a guardianship case. Do you have any evidence?" "Nothing concrete yet, but everything is pointing in that direction." "Then you should prepare too. It might be time to return to the courtroom." "Exactly what I was thinking," I said. In early 2023, a former client of mine reached out to me, Timothy Richardson. Remember him? The guy with the divorce case. "Miss Thornton," he said, "I heard you retired, but I don't trust anyone else. Will you take another case for me?" "Tim," I said, "I'm no longer actively practicing, but I can listen to your situation." He told me his story, his 23-year marriage, his wife's financial abuse, and stolen retirement funds. A classic case. "Tim," I said, "I'll take your case, but there's one condition. The trial will be in March 2024. Can you wait that long?" "Of course, but why wait that long?" "Because timing is everything, Tim." And I made my plan. At the same time, I continued to monitor Sarah's moves. In the fall of 2023, Sarah took me back to Dr. Morrison, this time for advanced forgetfulness. Dr. Morrison ran the same tests again. I answered every question correctly again, but this time, something was different. I intentionally made a couple of mistakes on a few test questions. "Who is the president?" he asked. "Well, isn't it Obama anymore? Or is it Trump?" I tried to sound confused. "No, Mrs. Thornton. Joe Biden." "Oh, yes, Biden. I got him mixed up." I didn't mix him up, but I could see Sarah sitting next to me, carefully noting down every answer I gave. When the report came, they had written, "The patient's dementia appears to be progressing. Short-term memory loss and impaired time-space orientation were observed." When Sarah showed me that report, she was in tears. "Mom," she said, "you have to let us help you now." "What kind of help, Sarah?" "Maybe you should move into a care home. Or move closer to us so we can look after you better." "And my house?" I asked. "We can sell the house. We'll use the money for your care." There it was. She'd finally said it. Selling the house, meaning selling my house and taking my money. "I'll think about it," I said. But inside I was thinking the rules of the game were now clear. The 13th of March 2024, 8:30 a.m. A cold, rainy morning in Portland. I was standing in front of the Multnomah County Courthouse, leather briefcase in hand, wearing a navy suit. My hair was pulled back, my makeup light but professional, the complete lawyer look. My client, Timothy Richardson, was beside me, tense but determined. "Are you ready, Miss Thornton?" he asked. "I've been ready for 42 years, Tim," I said. At the same time, 3 floors up in courtroom 304, my daughter Sarah and her lawyer, Marcus Webb, were also preparing. Sarah's file contained my dementia reports, fake medical documents, and a guardianship petition. But they didn't know one thing. I knew everything. My case began first. Courtroom 217, Judge Linda Morrison. The hearing started at 9 a.m. "Your Honor," I said, standing up, "before you is the divorce case of Mr. Timothy Richardson. After 23 years of marriage, my client is seeking a divorce due to financial abuse, emotional abuse, and unauthorized access to retirement funds." The opposing counsel, a young and impatient man, immediately objected. "Your Honor, these allegations are baseless. Mr. Coleman, I said with a cold smile. "Please don't interrupt me. You can speak when it's your turn." Judge Morrison nodded. "Continue, Miss Thornton." I continued. Every document I held, every bank decree, and every email record was flawless. I proved that Miss Richardson had withdrawn $340,000 from my client's retirement account, transferred it to offshore accounts she had opened in her own name, and done so without my client's knowledge. "Your Honor," I said, "this isn't just a marital matter. This is fraud. And my client wants back not just her freedom from this marriage, but everything she is rightfully entitled to." Judge Morrison was impressed. I could see it. The opposing side tried to present weak arguments, but I systematically refuted each one. By 10:30, the court took a short recess. At that very moment, 3 floors up, in room 304, another drama was unfolding. Sarah's case had started at 10. Marcus Webb stood up and said, "Your Honor, my client, Sarah Thornton Mitchell, comes before you with a heavy burden. Her mother, Elizabeth Thornton, 67, is suffering from advanced dementia. She cannot care for herself, make financial decisions, and most importantly, she poses a danger both to herself and those around her." Judge Robert Chen reviewed the file. "Do you have any medical reports?" "Yes, Your Honor," Marcus Webb presented Dr. Philip Morrison's reports. "As you will see here, it is noted that the patient experiences short-term memory loss, struggles with basic math, and confuses time and place." "Is Miss Thornton here herself?" the judge asked. "No, Your Honor. As far as I understand, she is at home and not answering the door. This also indicates the seriousness of the situation." Sarah was in tears. "Your Honor," she said, her voice trembling, "my mother was my everything, but she's not that anymore. Last week she left the stove on. The week before that, she left the house and couldn't find her way home. The neighbors found her sitting in the park, not knowing where she was. I can't take it anymore. I have to help her." What a performance, right? My own daughter, lying about me in court. Wasn't she the one who left the stove on 2 years ago on Thanksgiving? I didn't get lost in the park. I went there to read a book, and Sarah didn't know where I was because she didn't call me. But Judge Chen was starting to believe this story. "Well, what about Mrs. Thornton's financial situation?" "Your Honor," said Marcus Webb, "Mrs. Thornton has significant assets. She has a $1.2 million home in Lake Oswego, an $800,000 investment portfolio, and retirement funds. If she is not placed under guardianship, these assets are at risk." "At risk?" the judge asked. "How?" "Scammers, Your Honor. Elderly people are easy targets for scammers. My client wants to protect her mother." "How noble, isn't it? My daughter will protect me. She will protect my money, meaning she will take my money." Just then, a court clerk entered and handed Judge Chen a note. The judge read the note, his eyebrows furrowed. Then he read it again. Then he looked at Sarah and Marcus Webb. "Mr. Webb," he said, his voice taking on a strange tone, "I have a question. Where is Elizabeth Thornton right now?" "She should be at home, Your Honor." "As I said." "No," Judge Chen said firmly. "Elizabeth Thornton is currently on the 2nd floor of this building, in courtroom 217, and she's representing a divorce case." A deep silence fell over the courtroom. Sarah's face turned ashen, her mouth hung open. Marcus Webb's hand froze in midair. This is impossible," Marcus stammered. "Dr. Morrison's reports." "The reports are here," Judge Chen said, slamming the file on the table. "But Miss Thornton is clearly working actively in a courtroom right now. And, according to the information I've received, she's performing quite well." "Your Honor," said Sarah, her voice panicked, "this must be a mistake. Maybe someone else." "Miss Mitchell," the judge said sternly, "please calm down. We will look into this matter. I am adjourning the hearing and requesting that the 2 cases be consolidated." At 11 a.m., I was still in courtroom 217. My client's case was going well. Judge Morrison was reviewing the final documents, and the opposing counsel was desperately trying to come up with objections. Just then, a court clerk entered and handed Judge Morrison a note. The judge read it and looked at me in astonishment. "Miss Thornton," he said, You are being summoned to another court upstairs." "Which court, Your Honor?" I asked, but I was laughing inside, because I knew exactly what was going on. "Courtroom 304, Judge Chen's court. Apparently there's a guardianship case involving you." A slight murmur rippled through the courtroom. My client Tim looked at me confused. "Miss Thornton, what's going on?" "Don't worry, Tim," I said, smiling. "Everything is going according to plan." Judge Morrison adjourned the court, and I grabbed my briefcase, stood up, and walked toward the door. As I climbed the stairs, my heart was racing, but not from fear, from excitement. In my 42-year career, I've been to thousands of courtrooms, but this would be the most important one, because this time, I was fighting for myself. When I opened the doors to room 304, all eyes turned to me. Judge Chen was at the bench. Marcus Webb was sitting at the table, his face frozen in shock, and Sarah, my daughter Sarah, was sitting in the front row, her face covered in tears. Our eyes met. In that moment, she understood everything. She understood that I knew the games she had been playing, and that now the tables had turned. "Mrs. Thornton," Judge Chen said, "please come forward." I walked forward, my steps confident, my posture upright. As I passed Marcus Webb, I looked at him and smiled slightly. "Your Honor," I said, standing before the bench, "as I understand it, there is a guardianship case here concerning me. Is that correct?" "Yes, Miss Thornton. Your daughter, Sarah Thornton Mitchell, claims that you have dementia and need to be placed under guardianship." "I see," I said. "And Your Honor, you also know that I am currently representing a divorce case, correct?" "Yes." "In that case," I said, placing my briefcase on the table, "I'd like to show you a few things." I pulled a folder out of my briefcase. It contained everything: voice recordings, dates, notes, and photographs, recordings of the secret meetings Sarah and Brad held in my home, recordings of their phone calls with Dr. Morrison, my financial documents, my bank statements, everything. "Your Honor," I said, "I am Elizabeth Margaret Thornton. I was a family law attorney for 42 years. I retired in 2019. But now, I'm back to defend myself. Because my daughter, my beloved daughter, tried to have me declared incompetent. Why? To take my house and my money?" "Mom!" Sarah shouted, jumping to her feet. "That's not true. I was just trying to help you." "Sarah," I said, turning to her, my voice calm but firm, "please sit down. It's my turn to speak now." Judge Chen slammed his gavel. "Mrs. Mitchell, please sit down. Mrs. Thornton, continue." I handed the file to the judge. "Your Honor, what you will see here. First, the reports Dr. Philip Morrison wrote about me are completely false and deliberately misleading. I answered every question truthfully at every examination, but the doctor, at my daughter's request, manipulated the reports." "That's a serious accusation," Judge Chen said. "I know, and I have evidence." I pulled out a second document. Second audio recordings of conversations Sarah and her husband Brad had at my home to persuade me. These recordings clearly include statements like, "We need to sell your mother's house, and how can we control the money? Under Oregon law, recording with unilateral consent is legal." These recordings are admissible in court. Marcus Webb jumped to his feet. "Your Honor, the authenticity of these recordings must be verified." "Mr. Webb," I said, giving him a sharp look, "you are a young lawyer. You don't have my experience. These recordings are time-stamped, stored on the original device, and ready for digital forensic examination. We can listen to them now, if you like." Judge Chen took the recordings. "I will review them." "Continue, Miss Thornton." "Third," I said, "I have never been a dementia patient. I have been examined by 3 separate independent neurologists in the last 6 months. All of them confirmed that my cognitive functions are completely normal for my age, even above average. These reports are here." I handed the judge 3 separate medical reports, independent doctors, renowned hospitals, all with the same conclusion: Elizabeth Thornton is mentally sound. Judge Chen reviewed the reports, his eyebrows furrowing increasingly. Then he looked at Sarah. "Miss Mitchell," he he said. "You'll need to explain this." Sarah was crying. I was just trying to protect her." "Protect me?" I said, turning to her. My voice was raised. I was no longer calm. I was no longer a lawyer. I was just a mother, a heartbroken mother. "Sarah," I said, "you weren't trying to protect me. You were trying to take my home, my money, and my freedom. You were planning to lock me up in a nursing home to control my assets. You said these things, Sarah, with your own mouth." "Mom, please." "No," I said. "You told me I was old, forgetful, and unable to make my own decisions anymore. But the truth is, I'm smarter than you, more experienced, and definitely more honest." There was a deep silence in the courtroom. Sarah had her head bowed, her shoulders trembling. Judge Chen took a deep breath. "Miss Thornton, I will need to review these documents, but I can say this. The woman standing before me certainly does not appear to be someone who needs to be placed under guardianship." "Thank you, Your Honor," I said. "However," the judge continued, "if these allegations turn out to be true, that is, if Dr. Morrison's reports are fake and the guardianship case is malicious, there will be serious consequences, both legal and criminal." Sarah lifted her head, her face filled with horror. "In that case," Judge Chen said, "I'm adjourning the hearing for a week. During that time, I will review all the documents, obtain independent expert opinions, and summon Dr. Morrison to court if necessary. Miss Mitchell, you will need to prepare your response with your attorney." He banged the gavel. "Court is adjourned." When I left the courtroom, Sarah was waiting for me in the hallway. Brad was beside her, his face tense. Marcus Webb stood a few feet away, busy on his phone, probably calling the insurance company. "Mom," Sarah said, her voice tinged with desperate pleading, "please talk to me." I stopped. I turned. I looked at her. My daughter, 42 years old, beautiful, successful, and a mother of two, and a liar. "What do you want me to talk about, Sarah?" I said, my voice weary. "Why did you want to shut down the hospital? Why did you tell the doctor to lie? Or what do you plan to do with my $1.2 million house?" I did it for your own good," she said, but her eyes were avoiding mine. "For my own good?" I laughed, a bitter laugh. "Sarah, you never thought about my own good. You only thought about your own good." Brad interrupted. "Elizabeth," Sarah was genuinely worried. "You were getting older, sometimes acting forgetful." "Brad," I said, giving him a sharp look, "you'd better shut up, because you're in on this conspiracy too, and your name is in the court records." Brad's face went pale. Sarah started crying. "Mom, please, I made a mistake, okay? But you're my mom. You can forgive me, right?" "Forgive you?" I said, approaching her. "Sarah, you tried to have me committed. You tried to take away my freedom. You planned to lock me up in a nursing home, and now you expect me to forgive you? Emma and Lucas have college expenses. Brad's job isn't going well. We needed the money." There it was. She'd finally told the truth. "Money," I said. "It was all about money. Emma and Lucas have college funds, Sarah. I set them up 5 years ago, $150,000 for each of them. You knew that. But it wasn't enough for you, was it? You wanted more." Sarah was crying silently. "Do you know what hurts the most?" I said, my voice trembling. "I did everything for you. I raised you on my own after your father left. I gave you the best education. I spent $50,000 on your wedding. I bought gifts for your grandchildren every birthday, and you tried to sell me out like this." "Mom, please." "No, Sarah," I said, stepping back. "You don't need to call me Mom anymore, because a mother trusts her daughter. A daughter betrays her mother. You chose the latter." I turned and walked away. Sarah called out after me, but I didn't stop. A week later, on the 20th of March 2024, we were back in court. This time, the atmosphere was very different. Judge Chen sat at the bench, a thick file in front of him. 2 experts sat beside him, a geriatrician and a forensic psychologist. "This court," Judge Chen said, conducted a thorough investigation over the past week. We spoke with Dr. Philip Morrison, reviewed all medical records, and had Miss Elizabeth Thornton evaluated by independent experts. Everyone listened in silence. Our findings are as follows, the judge continued. First, Elizabeth Thornton does not have dementia or any cognitive impairment. Independent evaluations show that Miss Thornton's mental capacity is excellent for her age, even above average. Sarah bowed her head. Second, Dr. Philip Morrison's reports do not reflect the truth. Dr. Morrison testified in court and admitted that Miss Sarah Mitchell asked him to write reports in a certain direction. This is a serious violation of medical ethics and has been reported to the Oregon Medical Board. Marcus Webb's face turned pale. Third, Judge Chen said, raising his voice, this guardianship case is malicious. The aim is not to protect Miss Thornton but to gain control of her assets. This constitutes legal fraud. Your Honor, said Marcus Webb, standing up. My client. Mr. Webb, said the judge sternly, your client made false statements. He presented forged documents, and he attempted to take away a woman's freedom. These are serious crimes. Judge Chen placed the documents on the table. This court's ruling is as follows. The guardianship request is denied. Elizabeth Thornton is legally competent and retains all her rights. I took a deep breath. Finally. It was finally over. Additionally, the judge continued, a $50,000 fine has been imposed as punishment for filing a malicious lawsuit against Miss Sarah Mitchell. This amount will be paid to cover Miss Thornton's legal expenses. Sarah groaned. And finally, Judge Chen said, this case will be reported to the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office. A criminal investigation may be initiated regarding charges of fraud and presenting forged documents. He banged the gavel. The court has spoken. As I left the courtroom, my legs were shaking. For 42 years I stood by my clients, but this time I fought for myself, and I won. Thomas Bradshaw was waiting for me in the hallway. Elizabeth, he said proudly, you were amazing. Thank you, Tom, I said. This wouldn't have been possible without your help. No, he said, shaking his head. This is your victory. You earned it. When I turned around, Sarah was standing in the hallway, with Brad and Marcus Webb beside her. She looked at me, and there was something in her eyes. Regret? Anger? I wasn't sure. I walked toward her. When I reached her, I stopped. Sarah, I said, my voice calm. I have something to tell you. I love you. I still love you, because you're my daughter. But I can't trust you. I can never trust you again. Maybe one day we can fix this, but not today. Sarah was crying silently. Hug Emma and Lucas, I said. Tell them, your grandmother isn't crazy. Tell them the college funds are safe. But also tell them this. Their grandmother may not be able to see them every week anymore, because this family's trust has been broken. And repairing trust is harder than repairing a house. I turned and walked away. But the story doesn't end here. A week later, Dr. Philip Morrison's medical license was suspended by the Oregon Medical Board. An ethics violation investigation was launched. 2 weeks later, the Multnomah County District Attorney's Office launched a fraud investigation against Sarah and Brad. A month later, Sarah and Brad made a settlement offer. They would pay $200,000 in compensation to avoid criminal prosecution. I did not accept the offer. Why? Asked Thomas Bradshaw. Elizabeth, this is a good deal. You take the money, close the case. Because this isn't about the money, Tom, I said. This is about justice. Sarah deserves to see the consequences of her actions. Finally, in August 2024, Sarah and Brad were found guilty of attempted fraud, presenting false documents, and elder abuse. Sarah received 500 hours of community service and 3 years of probation. Brad received 750 hours of community service and 5 years of probation. Both were ordered to pay $150,000 in restitution. Marcus Webb, the young lawyer whose license was suspended, moved to another state. Today is the 17th of October 2025. I am 68 years old and working full-time again. But this time it's different. I no longer practice general family law. I've specialized in a specific area: elder rights and financial abuse cases. I have a small office in Portland. The sign on the door reads, Elizabeth Thornton, Elder Rights Attorney. In the past year, I've taken on 27 cases. Each one resembled my own story. Elderly people deceived, abused, or subjected to attempts to place them under guardianship by their own children. Mr. George Hamilton, 72, was being evicted from his home by his son. We won the case. Mrs. Dorothy Chen, 69, had her retirement funds stolen by her daughter and son-in-law. We won the case and recovered the money. Mr. Vincent Kowalski, 74, had been labeled old and senile by his grandchildren and locked away in a nursing home. We rescued him, and he now lives happily in his own home. Every case is my story. Every client is my reflection in the mirror. People ask me, Miss Thornton, why do you do this? You could have retired and enjoyed your garden. I tell them, because aging is not a crime. Aging is not weakness. And no one deserves to lose their freedom just because they are old. You'll ask what happened to Sarah. Sarah and I don't talk anymore. She sent a card at New Year's. It said, Mom, please forgive me. I regret it every day. I read the card. I poured a glass of wine, sat on the balcony, and thought. I thought long and hard. Yes, Sarah is my daughter. I gave birth to her, raised her, and loved her. But she betrayed me. She tried to deprive me of my freedom. She tried to make me look crazy. Some things can be forgiven. Some things cannot. Maybe one day, maybe years from now. Maybe if Sarah truly changes, maybe then we can talk. But not today. My relationship with Emma and Lucas is different. My grandchildren are now 17 and 14 years old. My love for them has never changed. They were not part of this game. Last month, Emma came to visit me. Alone, without her mother knowing. Grandma, she said, sitting in my living room, clutching my hands. I want to apologize. What are you apologizing for, sweetie? I asked. For believing what my mother said? I believed you were sick, but you're not. You're incredible. My eyes filled with tears. For the first time in a long time, tears of happiness. Emma, I said, holding her hands. You were little. Your mother lied to you. It's not your fault. But I should have questioned it, she said. I should have been smarter. Emma, I said, leaning toward her, you're smart now, because you're learning to make your own decisions. You don't blindly believe what others tell you. That's a sign of intelligence. That day, I gave Emma something, an envelope. Inside was a check, $50,000. What's this? She asked, surprised. It's your college fund supplement, I said, but on one condition. You won't tell your mom or dad about this money. It's your money. It's for your future, and you'll decide what to do with it yourself. Emma cried. She hugged me tightly. I love you, Grandma, she said. I love you too, sweetie, I said. And now, my life. I get up at 6 every morning. I do yoga. I make my breakfast whole wheat toast, avocado, and eggs. Then I go for a walk in the streets of Portland. I arrive at my office at 8:30 a.m. My secretary, Linda, 52 years old, a wonderful woman, greets me. Good morning, Miss Thornton. You have 3 appointments today. I listen to my cases. I listen to people's painful stories, and I help them. At lunchtime, I sometimes meet up with my former colleagues, Thomas Bradshaw, Janet Rivera, and Michael O'Connor. They're all retired, but they're still active. Law isn't just a profession, it's a way of life. I get home at 6 p.m. I make dinner. I read a book. Sometimes I watch a series on Netflix. Yes, I keep up with technology. On weekends, I see my granddaughter Emma. Sometimes Lucas comes too. I cook for them, I talk to them, I give them life lessons. Grandma, Lucas said last week, you're amazing. When I grow up, I want to be like you. How? I asked. Strong, smart, and someone who never gives up. My heart swelled at that moment. Because that's why I live. That's why I fight. And finally, I have a question for you. Have you ever trusted someone blindly? Then, did that trust get broken? Have you ever been looked down upon because you're old? Did they ever tell you you're not young anymore? Have you ever felt the need to prove yourself? That you're still valuable? Still capable? If your answer is yes, know that you are not alone. I'm Elizabeth Margaret Thornton. I'm 68 years old. I'm a family law attorney. My daughter tried to take me to court, but I won. And you know what the best part is? I didn't just win for myself. I won for you too. For all the elderly, for all the overlooked, dismissed, and worthless people. Because age is just a number. What truly matters is your mind, your heart, and your spirit. I'm 68 years old, and I'm living my best life. October 2026. Autumn leaves are falling in Portland. I'm sitting in my office, about to meet with a new client, when the phone rings. "Miss Thornton," says my secretary, Linda. "There's a Sarah Mitchell on the phone. She wants to talk." My heart stops. Sarah, my daughter. We haven't spoken in 18 months. "Put her through," I say. "Mom?" Her voice is trembling and soft. Different. "Hello, Sarah. It took me a long time to gather the courage to call you," she says. "But I had to, because something happened." "What happened?" I ask, my voice filled with concern. "Emma got into Harvard, full scholarship, and I know that the money you gave her, the support you gave her, the lessons you taught her, played a big part in her success." Silence. "And I," Sarah continues, her voice breaking, "I did a terrible thing. I betrayed you. I underestimated you. And now, looking at Emma, I see how strong she is, how smart, how determined, and I realize she's just like you. Your granddaughter. She carries your genes." My eyes well up. "Mom," Sarah says, "I'm not asking for your forgiveness, because what I did is unforgivable. But I want to thank you for being a good role model to Emma and Lucas, for showing them what real strength means." "Sarah," I say, my voice trembling, "I still love you. I will always love you. But trust takes time. A long time." "I know," she says, "and I'm ready to wait, no matter how long it takes." When I hang up the phone, Linda walks in. "Mrs. Thornton, are you okay?" "Yes, Linda," I say, wiping my eyes. "I'm fine. It's just, life sometimes takes strange turns." That day, as I left the office and walked the streets of Portland, I felt something. Peace. True peace. Because I won. Not just in court, but in life too. Growing old isn't a weakness. Growing old is wisdom. And I used my wisdom to save both myself and others. Final words. I am Elizabeth Margaret Thornton. I am 68 years old, and I am not done yet. There are more cases ahead of me. I need to save more people. I need to bring more justice. Maybe one day Sarah and I can repair our relationship, maybe. But that's her choice. She has to show her remorse and prove that she has changed. My relationship with Emma and Lucas is growing stronger. They are my hope. The next generation. The most important lesson I taught them: no one can tell you, "You're old, you're worthless now." Because worth isn't measured by age. Worth is measured by character, mindset, and your heart. And I have taught this lesson throughout my life. In courtrooms, in my office, and in my own life. Now, one final question for you. If tomorrow someone tells you you're old now, you can't do it anymore, what will you say? Let me tell you my answer. I haven't grown old. I've matured. I've gained experience. And I won't let you belittle me. This story isn't just my story. It could be your story too. Your mother's, your father's, your grandmother's, and your grandfather's story. Please protect them. Please listen to them. And please, please, don't think they're worthless just because they're old. Because old age is not an end. Old age is a new beginning. I am Elizabeth Margaret Thornton. And my story is just beginning.